Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. I don't think I can make sense of this one though. We're back to our good friend Jose from South Florida who likes to poke the bear in terms of the judges. I'll have more on that in just a moment. Well, to quote from Ray Stevens' song, it seems like some guys never learn. And that is certainly the situation here today with this particular case. You may recall a couple of months ago we did a video on this fellow who called the judges scumbags, among other names that are not appropriate in polite company. And that's just never a good idea if you are trying to make a request for a rehearing, but that's what he did. So the court issued a show cause order. And a show cause order is an order that says, look, you need to explain to us why we shouldn't sanction you for your conduct. And we're thinking about monetary sanctions here, and we're also sort of thinking about barring you from doing any further pleadings. Well, instead of coming back with his hat in his hand and say, you know what, I was drunk the day my mom went home from prison, or something like that. Anything he could have said that would have given him some sense of remorse, or, I know I did a bad thing. I'm really sorry. I promise I won't do it again. But no, that isn't what happened. And we'll get to that here in a minute when we look at the actual pleading. But my goodness, some people just go hog wild when they go forward. So we're going to take a look now at the opinion, and after that, I'll explain what I think. Well, this comes to us from the 3rd District Court of Appeals in the state of Florida, and we're back with our good friend Jose Yeyille here. In his quest to defeat Justin Spiegel, a doctor in a med-mal case, he is back and he has now got an answer on his response to the show cause order. If you'll recall, the 3rd District Court of Appeals issued an order to him telling him to show cause why he shouldn't be sanctioned, and he put that fire out with a can of gasoline, as we will see. On May 3rd, we issued this order to show cause, and having considered his response, we find that Mr. Yeyille has failed to show good cause why he should not be barred from further pro se filings. Specifically, this court finds he violated Florida Rule of Appellate Procedure 9.330 by filing a repetitious and frivolous motion for rehearing that merely reasserted previously disposed of arguments. In his motion for rehearing, he failed to show or even state with particularity how this court's per curiam affirmance conflicted with prior precedent or violated any of his constitutional rights. And it goes through some stuff that the court mentioned earlier about, a rehearing motion not being an invitation to vent your spleen on the judiciary. And it goes on to say, under Florida law, a citizen abuses the right to pro se access by filing repetitious and frivolous pleadings, thereby diminishing the ability of the courts to devote their finite resources to the consideration of legitimate claims. The Florida Supreme Court has held that to ensure every citizen's access to the courts, a court may prevent abusive litigants from continuously filing frivolous petitions, thus enabling the court to devote its finite resources to those who have not abused the system. The court further finds Mr. Yeyille violated Rule 4-8.2a of the rules regulating the Florida bar by impugning the qualifications or integrity of the judges of this court. Rule 8.2a states in relevant part that a lawyer shall not make a statement that the lawyer knows to be false or with reckless disregard as to its truth or falsity concerning the qualifications or integrity of a judge. When determining whether the rule was violated, the question is not whether the statement is false, but whether Mr. Yeyille had an objectively reasonable factual basis for making the statement. His response to the show cause order proffers no objectively reasonable factual basis for his statements. Rather than address the show cause order, Mr. Yeyille utilizes his response to further impugn the judges of this court, stating, Appellate courts in the state of Florida cannot complain about their vaunted integrity because, thanks to the political process which allows large firms to choose, buy, and own them, they do not have any. Secondly, significantly, those law firms, Greenberg Targ PA and Ackerman LLP, own the judges of the 3rd District Court of Appeal. Hitherto, I have most proficiently provided evidence and proven that the judges of the judiciary of the state of Florida from the district courts of appeals, especially the 3rd District Court of Appeals, to the justices of the Florida Supreme Court, are racists and elitists who deliberately issue per curiam affirmances in the vast majority of cases that they decide to indigents and indigent pro se Black and Hispanic parties, which in turn preclude appeals and petitions for writs to the Florida Supreme Court. For now, regarding this case only, I am confident to allege, based on public information, that the 3rd District Court of Appeal is a criminal enterprise. Its judges are owned by Greenberg Targ PA and associate law firms including Ackerman LLP, the Florida State Attorney's Office, and the local and state governments. But none are more brazen than current Chief Judge of the 3rd District Court of Appeal, Ivan Fernandez, whose mere presence is an affront to the judiciary and the people of Florida, and his actions an endless travesty of justice. Now, they were quoting from his response. The fact that he's acting pro se doesn't insulate him from consequences. On a proper showing, an attorney may be barred from self-representation. Even non-attorney pro se individuals may be sanctioned for repeatedly filing motions that include personal attacks on judges that are abusive, malicious, insulting, and demeaning to the judiciary. At no point in his response does Mr. Yeyille acknowledge his responsibility as a member of the Florida Bar, make any statements of remorse, admit the wrongfulness of his actions, or assert any other mitigating circumstances for this court to consider and weigh in determining the appropriate sanctions to be imposed. This court, therefore, pursuant to Florida Rule of Appellate Procedure 9.410, imposes the following sanctions. 1. We direct the clerk of the 3rd District Court of Appeal to reject any further pro se filings submitted by Jose Yeyille unless such filing has been reviewed and signed by a member of the Florida Bar in good standing. 2. We formally refer this matter to the Florida Bar for appropriate disciplinary proceedings against Jose Yeyille Esquire. It is so ordered. I think the most important part of that particular order is that he was referred to the Florida Bar for further disciplinary proceedings. When you violate a rule in the ABA's Rules of Professional Conduct, when you violate one of those that's in the 8 range, those are disciplinary rules. And 8.2 says you can't go around making false statements about judges. And when you suggest that a judge is owned by a law firm, that's a really dangerous and reckless thing to do for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you don't have that judge on videotape taking a payoff from somebody, then there's a good chance you're going to get sanctioned. There's probably a good chance that if you make that statement even in public, even not inside of a pleading, if you make it to the Florida media, you're probably going to get hauled in front of the disciplinary commission. You are probably going to get disciplined for that because, like I said, unless you've got the evidence, you don't make that charge. The old rule about if you shoot at the king, you must kill him, that's especially true with regard to judges. Now, you might not like the way a judge rules in a case. You may hate the fact that, on a close call, he gave it to the defense, and as a result, you lost your case. Okay, I understand being upset about that. But you go home, you tell your wife, you walk around the block a couple of times. If you have some old boxes out in the garage, you go punch the old boxes until your hands hurt. And pretty soon you're feeling better and you can do what my old boss used to tell me to do all the time, which is drain the bathtub and find another way to fill it up. Because once you let that water go, you're free of all of that negative energy that you carry around after you've had a situation like that. But instead of managing his anger in a productive way that he could have worked it out Even going to see a counselor would have been a good thing. He instead reacts by filing pleadings that are absolutely ridiculous. And as a result, I strongly suspect he will pay the price. You're not going to get away with that. Florida is over-lawyered. I think that's the term that they use. It's over-lawyered in that it has a lot more lawyers than most other states. As a result, if you've got a lot more lawyers than you need, you don't mind getting rid of a few bad apples here and there. You know, it's like if you have a barrel of apples and a lot of them are good, but 4 or 5 of them are rotten, you throw those rotten apples out. And that's what's going to happen here. I'm not suggesting that he's rotten. I'm just saying he is going to be disciplined. He may not be disbarred, but he will certainly receive severe discipline for what he's done here. And the fact that they had to put this into a pleading that they released to the public with all of those statements in there about these judges, that had to be very disconcerting for the judges to put that out there. That's the Some Guys Never Learn story for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have the opportunity today, please consider doing something kind for someone else. Whether it's just opening the door at Walmart or maybe returning a shopping cart to the store that would otherwise rumble around through the parking lot and bash into the side of somebody's door. Anything you can do to make somebody else's life better, even if they don't know it, that's a good thing to do. It makes the world a better place, my friends. Thank you for watching. Catch me down here at the beach next time, and maybe if you're the kind like me, you'll say a prayer for Mr. Yeyille, because he's going to need all the help he can get. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.